And hello, everybody, and welcome to the Buddhist Recovery Network Academy. My name is Susanna, and I'm joining you from Helsinki, Finland, and I will be your host today. I'm a big fan of Buddhism, recovery, and Buddhist recovery. I facilitate both 8-step recovery meetings and mindfulness-based addiction recovery courses here in Finland. I'm a member of the board of the Buddhist Recovery Network. So today, we have a new academy teaching offered by Mary Stancavage, who is our regular teacher. Nice to have you back again. And the topic of the teaching is finding ease in the present moment. And you will be hearing in just a moment a little bit more about Mary and the teaching. So thanks everyone for being here and being part of our community today. And the format for tonight is that we have about 60 minutes, and we will start off with a short period of meditation led by Mary, and then there will be some teaching, Dharma teaching, and a session of Q&A. And Dana, all of our teachings are given freely, and we are blessed with some amazing teachers like our Mary tonight, who have experience on the cushion, experience working with body, speech, and mind, experience in the ongoing practice of recovery by the way of Dharma. As we practice Buddha's teaching of generosity, we invite you to give dana that will be given to support our ongoing Buddhist Recovery Network meetings and to support the teacher. You can give on a one-time or recurring basis using the link that Silasiri kindly posted to the chat field just a while ago. Please be sure to indicate that your donation is for the Academy, and we sincerely thank you for your generosity. And if you forget to indicate that it's for the Academy, we do the chalk for you, so everything that is donated during this evening and a little bit after is directed to the Academy. So no worries if you forget it, but if you don't forget it, you make our job a little bit easier. Okay, so now to the teaching of tonight. So our teacher tonight is Mary Stancavage, and she has practiced meditation. Just a moment, I will just close my email. So she has practiced meditation, yoga, and cultivated a spiritual practice for over 35 years. And in 2009, was empowered to teach Buddha Dharma. She teaches classes, retreats, coaches, and mentors individuals, and has facilitated several year-to-live groups over the years. She has served as a volunteer hospital chaplain and been involved with leadership in several nonprofit organizations over the years, both in meditation and in the social justice arena. She is currently a member of the Guiding Teachers Council for Insight Community of the Desert, serves on the Los Angeles District Attorney's Interfaith Task Force, and is a board member of both Meditation Coalition and CLUE, Clergy and Laity for Economic Justice. For the last several years, Mary has investigated what it means to live with an undefended heart, and more information on this can be found on her website that will be posted to the chat field by Silasiri. And then we have a fun fact. Mary has an MA from UCLA and spent several seasons working as an archaeologist in Syria. And then to the teaching. The topic of the teaching is finding ease in the present moment, something that probably all of us need. Finding ease in the present moment can sometimes feel like an impossible task. There is so much going on in the world and in our lives, our own lives, and it's easy to become overwhelmed. When things are challenging, we tend to fall into familiar patterns of reactivity, which keep us either stuck in this overwhelm or getting lost in stories that don't serve us. In this talk, Mary will discuss different ways we get entangled and how we can get unstuck and move towards both equanimity and ease, regardless of what's going on. So thank you and welcome, Mary. It's such a big pleasure to have you with us again. So the screen is all yours.
Thank you so much, Susanna, for the lovely introduction and the kind words. And it's good to see you, and good to see everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's a treat to be with you all, and I'm honored to be with you again this year. I really enjoy coming to the Academy each year, and gosh, I remember I've been involved or had been involved with the Buddhist Recovery Network from 2009, I think, is when it started way back then, and was on the board for a few years back. And so I'm so happy to see that it's still thriving and growing, and so many folks are here today. So So what we'll do is we'll have a short meditation. We'll have about a 15-minute meditation, and then I'll move into a talk about finding some ease. And I do, for the meditation, the last week, I do a morning meditation every day online, and the last week we've really been hanging out with the simplicity of the first couple of foundations of mindfulness, the breath and body awareness, and a little bit into recognizing whether things are pleasant or unpleasant, but primarily grounding in the foundation of being right here. And that's a really important part of finding ease, because often we're just stuck in our heads, and that takes us, as you know, many places. So if we can become familiar with grounding, it's really beneficial. So we'll sit, I'll offer some guidance, and just also know you can't do it wrong. I don't know if there's probably a range of experience here in the Zoom room of folks on how long or how short a time they've been practicing, but you know what? It's all practice. So let's just sit. So I invite you to settle into a posture that will be comfortable. You can be sitting or standing or laying down, whatever makes sense for you right now. It's really important to take care of yourself as you move into this. So take a few moments to arrive. Even if you've been sitting for a while, really bring your attention to the sensation of sitting, or whatever, if you're lying down or standing, bring your attention to the sensation of the body, where it is, being supported by the seat. Ultimately, you're supported by the earth. Take a few moments to let the body relax. We can hold tightness and tension without even being aware of it. So maybe spend a moment moving to those places that you know often hold tension, relaxing, softening, perhaps around the face, the jaw, relaxing around the shoulders, arms, the hands. Letting the torso relax. Belly. See if that can soften. Hips, the legs, the feet. There's nothing to hold on to. Let yourself be supported. Your full weight. Just relax and let go. Begin to open to the different sensations that are here. Feeling your points of contact with the body, the seat, butt, and your back. Perhaps feeling your feet on the floor. Feeling the other sensations, perhaps the warmth, coolness of the air. Feeling the touch of clothing against your skin. You notice the different energies in the body. It could be pulsing or tingling, throbbing. So many things that go on that we're often unaware of because we're lost in thinking. You begin to notice the body as it breathes, the rhythm of the inhale and the exhale, rise and fall of the chest, perhaps the abdomen as well. Knowing that you probably will be drawn away by a thought, a plan, a memory. And when you notice you've drifted, gently return, coming back to the steadiness of this foundation that's right here. There's nothing you have to accomplish. There's no chores. There's no agenda or expectations. Simply being, resting in a gentle awareness right here. You may notice that some sensation is unpleasant. Perhaps it's pleasant, perhaps neither. Again, you can just be with that without needing to fix it or change it. Just allow it to be as best you can. It's not because you've done anything wrong. It just is. Let yourself rest in this gentle awareness, grounded in the breath or the body, grounded right where you are. As many times as the mind drifts away, you can return, reconnecting with your seat, with your foundation, with the steadiness, breath in the body. It's always right here, always available. Relaxed in body, relaxed in mind, resting right here. Now we are moving into the last few moments of our sit. And I want to invite you to move into a simple gratitude practice if you like. Bring to mind one thing in your life that you're grateful for. And rest in that gratitude for the next few moments. Oh, thank you, everyone. I'll have time for some questions in a little bit, but I wanna right now jump into the talk for today, for this month, and I called it finding ease in the present moment, because I think it's really important that we have an idea that A, it's possible, and B, how to do it. It's sometimes, I mean, it's really important right now. There's so much going on in the world. There's so much upheaval and dislocation and violence and pain and loss. And so there's the big picture, and then there's our own lives where we have our own experiences, and which can be fraught with loss and instability or difficulties. And so sometimes it feels like ease is over there, and we're here, and we have to slog through this stuff or get past it. Or sometimes there's the idea of how can I be at ease when there's all this other stuff going on. And so it's really important, I think, to recognize that things don't have to be a particular way for us to be at ease, that we can find some ease even with difficulty. That's really an important idea. And in fact, if you look at the 7 factors of awakening, one of them is joy. It doesn't say things get good and then you get joyful. It says you recognize what's happening, and there's this ease, there's this tranquility that's not dependent. There's this steadiness, which, in the meditation, we started grounding into the body and the breath and finding that foundation. There's a foundation that we have that's available to us when we can be fully present with what's going on right now. And I gave a talk last night. I teach a class on Saturdays, and the topic or the title was Start Where You Are. And if we want to move to a place of ease or find out how to develop ease in the present moment, we have to start where we are. It's the title of a Pema Chodron book. That was I think, the first Buddhist book I read. a long time ago, back in the 90s. And I love saying that. It's a phrase I use a lot when we're talking about moving towards liberation, moving towards freedom. It's like sometimes people think we have to read a bunch of books or go on a whole bunch of retreats or do a particular thing before we can start experiencing this. And it's like, no, it's right here. It's right where we are. And one of the other things that I also say, if we want to start where we are, we have to, and we want to move in a particular direction, if we have an intention to allow more ease or tranquility or move in a direction of freedom, then we start where we are, but we also have to recognize what gets in our way. It's really important, because if we don't know what gets in our way, we're going to keep stumbling over the same things over and over again. There's, where do we stumble? Where do we get hung up? What are the stories and beliefs we hold? Those stories that we can't get rid of. I was listening to something the other day, and people were talking about not feeling that they were enough. And it's like, is that a story that you're not enough, that you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not whatever? And so I think one of the things that gets in our way in moving towards ease are these habits of mind that we get stuck in, especially if you're dealing with recovery and addiction. Those habits of mind can be really strong and really powerful and really derail us. If we're not paying attention, we can get stuck in them and just stay there. And there's a quote, Larry Ward, who's a wonderful teacher in Thich Nhat Hanh's lineage. He wrote a book called America's Racial Karma. And he says, and he's talking about habits, and he says, most of us know that changing habits is challenging. How much of what we do is habitual? Studies by neurobiologists and psychologists researching habit formation indicate that 40 to 95% of human behavior, how we think, how we respond with emotions, what we say, and how we act, falls into the habit category. And however good we think our intentions are, without insight about the need to change these habits, we're going to be reacting out of them 50% of the time. And if those habits that we've developed, which the Buddha says we're conditioned beings, and these habits are conditionings, they're responses we've developed to our lives, often very much protective mechanisms that we've developed as a way of taking care of ourselves. But many times they don't serve today. Or we've developed habits of thinking about ourselves. And what I want to go into is, actually, I want to talk about what those habits are. And some of this is drawn from Martine Batchelor's book, Let Go, which is a really good book as well. And these habits that we get lost in, especially if they're uncomfortable, are dukkha. Dukkha is usually translated as suffering, but it's also translated as discontent, not being comfortable with the way things are in the present moment, being at dis-ease, uncomfortable. So I'll just say dukkha, because dukkha covers this whole range of things. And a lot of this dukkha is the stories we tell ourselves, these constant narratives that's going on. Does anybody have that little voice in the back of your head that's just saying, oh, you gotta, rah, rah, rah. Usually it's not that great. Usually it's telling us stuff that we're not good at. And so to begin to recognize, what we have to do is begin to slow down, slow down what's going on and recognize, is that true? Even ask those questions. Is that true? There's doubt that comes up. This questioning, can I do this? Am I good enough? Is this possible? It's too hard. I can't, blah, 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 all these things. So doubt, it's one of the hindrances. And hindrances are a really good place to see what gets in the way. And I'll talk about those in a minute. Another thing is this rehearsing and plotting is a habit of mind that keeps us stuck. Do you ever have conversations with people who aren't there? I do. Not so much as I used to, but I still find myself going there. And what I found is that when I'm having these conversations with people, it's usually replaying something that happened yesterday that didn't go the way I wanted it to go. So now I'm I'm saying different things so it ends better. I'm trying to fix history, change the past. Or I'm trying to practice for when I see somebody tomorrow. And those things are good to practice, but not in this constant replay. Um, I was, I remember one time years ago, I was having a conversation with somebody who wasn't in the room. I was getting ready in the bathroom, and I was going to put some product in my hair, and I put it all over my face instead because I was nowhere near my present moment. I was in my head having a conversation. Or we get caught up in fortune telling and mind reading. We just make stuff up. You may say something to me, but I'm going to really understand what you mean. I'm not going to believe the words going to kind of come out of your mouth. I'm going to create this story in my head. And fortune telling too, that I know what's going to happen. And it impacts how I behave today if I think I know what's going to happen. Or we get into this judging place, this running commentary about the world. We walk into a room and we go, oh my God, what is that? I get very judgy at airports. I don't know what it is. I judge how many suitcases people have. I don't know why. But we get into these judging places, which is very, very aligned with the comparing mind. Better, worse, good, bad. Where we measure or count. You know, we have mental benchmarks for various things, and we worry about something that we're not getting enough, or other people are getting more, or did I get enough cards on my birthday? Did enough people like my Facebook post or my Instagram post? Oh, they like that one better. And we get into these places that cause all this discomfort, you know? Or we create a world of rules, these rigid rules that we create to keep us safe, you know, and we can't go outside those boundaries. And it's painful if we do, or if other people do. And this all leads to a lot of overwhelm. And all of these habits of mind that I've mentioned, plus I'm sure you can recognize some of your own, these storylines that are just happening over and over again. They take us out of the present moment. They take us somewhere else. And if we are living in a place that's somewhere else, we're living in a place of fabrication, a place that's not real, a place that we've made up in our mind. And oftentimes these habits can be really uncomfortable. You know, they're all about I, and they're about me and mine, and we start taking the world very personally. You know? And the thing to do, and this is the beauty of meditation, is when we sit and we open up and begin to recognize those things that come up, and we get caught up and pulled away. And instead of going, oh, how come I'm still getting pulled away? Perhaps we recognize, oh, look, there's a story. What is that story? We depersonalize. We come back from making it about me. I have to instead recognize the pattern one more time. And this is where the hindrances can be helpful. The hindrances are, we're caught in craving or ill will, or we're caught in restlessness and worry, or the other side of restlessness is sloth and torpor. And oftentimes it's talked about as sleepiness, but I think it's also how we numb ourselves out. And we numb ourselves out with drugs and alcohol and other addictions. We numb ourselves out with social media. We numb ourselves out in many, many, many ways. And then doubt is a hindrance. So if you have this recognition of hindrances and can begin to identify some of these stories of, craving, wanting to be liked, not craving, you know, houses on the hill and billions of dollars. It's these deep hurts that sometimes we still experience, not being liked, being on the outside looking in. Beginning to recognize those and turn towards them with a gentleness, you know. And after recovery, after physical recovery, it's often getting lost in these mental stories that can cause the most harm, that can take us back to our addictions. So recognizing when we're stuck in these mental stories, identifying these mental stories, again, the mindfulness grounds us and invites us to be willing. And the hindrances are what get in the way, and the factors of awakening, as I mentioned them earlier, are what take us towards awakening and ease. The factors of awakening are mindfulness. It's the foundation of everything. Without mindfulness, most of this is like, good luck. So mindfulness is so vital. And then there's the investigation. What is this? What is this? What's going on? What's this story? Do I see the emotion underneath the story? And then there's an effort in the factors of awakening, this willingness to come back, this willingness to stay with what's uncomfortable, to recognize when we're caught up in fabrications and to come back. We start right where we are. And then when we can, at some point, be willing to open up and be with, because sati, the Pali word, which is usually translated as mindfulness, also means to be with. Can we be with the experience? Because so much of these habits of mind, these stories, have an underlying emotion that's uncomfortable, that we're trying to mitigate with the story. So can we turn towards what's going on inside? There's an awareness, a willingness to stay, and we can pause and recognize and be willing to let go. I did a retreat with Bhikkhu Analayo a couple of years ago, who's a very wise scholar, monk, Theravadan monk, and written many, many books. And he said the sum of the Buddha's teachings the totality of the Buddha's teachings can be summarized in 5 letters. Letgo. That's in English, obviously, but Letgo. Can you let go? Some of these stories we've believed, we've lived with our entire lives, this deep conditioning that this is the way things are. This pattern of thinking, not necessarily the details, because they change throughout our lives. People change, places change, but the essence, the patterns stay the same. Can we be willing to let go of those patterns? That's what's so challenging, because they're what we know, even if they are painful, we know them. So can you turn towards this experience with a gentleness, with a compassion? Compassion is what you take on your journey. You have to be willing to be soft. Start where you are. Be gentle. You don't have to fix everything all at once. Just what's giving you problems right now. What's the story that's getting in your way today? What's the habit of mind that's keeping you from being at ease right now? Could it be that awful neighbor around the corner? Could it be the story about climate change? What is it? How can you be with the emotions that go with that story? This is when I talk about the undefended heart, this willingness to make space. And when you begin to make space and you recognize that it doesn't have to be different, there's this ease, This is again in the factors of awakening. There's a joy and a tranquility that you can be with anything. Because oftentimes our reactivity comes out of fear that we won't be able to deal with the uncomfortable, the painful. But when we learn how to be with the uncomfortable and the painful, we can have some ease because we don't have to be afraid. It's like, oh, I can hold this. I can touch that grief that's been buried for so many years and still get out of bed in the morning. I can be gentle with it, maybe find some healing and find some ease in this moment. And the last two factors of awakening, the sixth factor is steadiness of mind, this collectedness of mind, this samadhi. And then the last factor is equanimity, which is the last factor on so many lists. It's this capacity to be intimate with our experience without needing it to be different. It doesn't mean there aren't things we need to, if things are need to be taken care of, we take care of business, we do that, but we can hold the experience in the moment. We can be with the emotion if it's unpleasant. We don't have to lash out or whatever. We can find, okay, it's unpleasant, but I can hold it, I can be with it, and I can do what has to be done. There's an underlying steadiness that allows us to be with everything. I've had a whale of a couple of years. My husband was really ill for a year and a half, and he went through a lot of stuff, and it was kind of okay, how do I hold this one? How do I hold this one? And I recognized the difference. I was thinking about it last night. He was ill about 15 or 16 years ago. He was in the hospital. It was really, and I remember sitting down and trying to sit, and I was just blown away. As somebody said, my mindfulness was overwhelmed. It couldn't handle the emotions. But with practice, this time, through the year and a half of his health stuff, I was able to just be. And then this last year, there's a lot of loss. And I lost my brother a couple of months ago. And it's just like, okay, it used to be. Like when my mom died, my first response was, give me a beer. I don't want to feel anything. And now when my brother died, it was like, okay, let me just be. There was an ease. There was a great sadness and grief, but I didn't need it to be different. I could be with. And so I invite you to really see what gets in the way. Start where you are. What's happening right now, and how do you turn towards that? And what's getting in the way of you moving towards equanimity? So thank you so much, my friends, for your beautiful, kind attention. And I am happy now to open it for any questions.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you. That was so full and so wise. Thank you. So beautiful. So like I said about Q&A, you can either raise your hand, use the raise hand option. You can type your questions in the chat field, or you can just wave your hand. I don't know how we're going to see that now, because at least for me, it looks like, Mary, you're pinned. So, or you can send your questions directly to either to me or Mary if you want to ask anonymously. So let's see, because I have a question if no one else has.
Go ahead, Susanna.
Yes, I would like to ask, because like early in recovery especially, and even now, I've been 20 years sober, and sometimes these thoughts, when they hijack my mind, especially comparing and worrying and stuff like that, it is so easy to jump into doing something, especially social media, TikTok, something that, boosts the dopamine so fast. So do you have any kind of like like small practical tips for people, especially early in the recovery, or, you know, in a case like mine, how to work with the difficult emotions when they rise, you know, some practice or something that you have, because you have such long experience. So is there something that you would like to share with us?
Well, I'd like to share that I have 37 years in sobriety and I still play a lot of solitaire. So I don't have the magic answer, but I do know that a couple of things come up for me that today, when I do that, my eyes are wide open. I go, okay, this is what you're doing. You know this. You know that you're doing these kinds of things. And that really tends to help at times. And sometimes we just need to do that. Sometimes we need to read a silly book or watch a silly movie or something. We can't just be on all the time. So there's that piece. But what I think is in recovery is, now what was the first thing I thought of that I didn't say, but what you want to do when there's a challenging emotion, you start recognizing the habit, but drop out of the head, which is what's really important with the reconnection with the body. I was so disconnected, and so many of us are disconnected from our bodies, and we're just letting the mind take over, but there's so much wisdom. So if you can just sit still, even for a moment, and feel the emotion, and get out, the story just will take you 1,000 miles away. Just, is it in your belly? Is it in your stomach? Where is it in your arm? Where is it? Can you touch it? Can you see it? Can you feel it? Does it have a color, a texture? And be with it as much as you can, just putting your toe in the water a little bit, and begin to turn towards those emotions and breathe. Just breathe. Like I mentioned, when my husband was ill many years ago, and I tried to sit, but sometimes it would just take over, and it's like, okay, I'm just going to get up and do some other things and recognize that, and maybe go for a walk. So yeah, we just have to find that way, but to touch it and get out of the head and get into the body, I think, is really important.
Yes, thanks for that. There's this saying, what you resist persists. So if when you feel the emotion, you know, that's quite the opposite. Then I have one anonymous question here. Could you repeat the list of 7 steps to reach equanimity?
Yeah, it's the 7 factors of awakening, and it's part of the Buddhist teachings. And the first one is mindfulness. So you have to be mindful. And then there's a little bit of investigation, curiosity. What is this? And then there's effort, the willingness to let go of the story and come back to here. And then what you begin, when you can do that, it's not getting rid of the story of the mind, but being willing to be with the experience of the moment. And then there's joy that can come from just being present, of not fighting. Sometimes just like putting down the boxing gloves and just being with is its own relief. And then that moves into a tranquility, this ease. And then there's the steadiness, the collectedness of mind, samadhi, and then equanimity. So it's mindfulness, investigation, effort. And sometimes I confuse effort and investigation. So if you're sitting there going, no, it's the other way. Yeah, sometimes I put those, reverse those. Mindfulness, investigation, effort, joy, tranquility, samadhi, collectedness of mind, and equanimity.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you. There you go.
Yeah, I post this link if somebody wants to do some, research. So Silla Siri posted them to the chat, and there is this article if somebody wants to read more about this. And this talk will be put to our YouTube channel, so you can see this. Somebody asked that also, because like I said, it was so rich You know, there is so much. So it's good to go back. Okay, we have 2 minutes left, and we have time for one more quick question, if there is one.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thanks for that.
thank you. Thank you, Mary. And now we are going to start wrapping up. And I thought that, you know, this time we could try something a little bit different. I'm going to read the stuff that I usually read to the end, but you can already now post your thank yous to Mary. And if you wish, you can attach the thing that you're grateful for, that the one that we had in the meditation. So if you want to include that. Okay, so a few words about Dana. Your generosity can help to strengthen the recovery community and to grow the academy, and can be a practical expression of gratitude and metta. We invite you to practice generosity and give Dana in support of these teachings to be shared with our teacher and with the Buddhist Recovery Network. And there will be a link to the donations. And the next academy, I forgot to write that there. I forgot to update it, but it's always the first Sunday of the month, so it'll be the 3rd of the 3rd. And I believe that we have Vince Cullen with us then. Yes, and there is a Facebook group. A link of that is going to be in the chat, or maybe was there already. And please answer the membership questions if you want to join, because otherwise we won't accept you. And there is also a weekly Buddhist recovery meeting. The type of the meeting changes weekly. You can check the schedule on our webpage using the link that is also in the chat field. We will keep the room open for a while, so you can search through the links in there. And maybe I could invite everybody who is available to open their camera, so we can kind of like see each other's faces as we transfer our merits. So we can see everybody's nice, smiling, beautiful faces in there. So thank you for joining us today. May the merit we have gained go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. May we all be happy. May we all be peaceful. May we all be safe. Thank you so much. And